Hi there, I'm Chris Nelson from Tiger Studios and welcome to an introduction to online and social media marketing for indie developers, a course created by developers for the developer community. Excuse me. And in this section, we're going to be talking about online and social media. So after the completion of this section, you should have an understanding of how social media can work together to create a social ecosystem. And also, as long as you go through and do the exercises, which are available on the website, you should have set up your own website and blog, as well as your social media accounts, so you can start engaging with your target audience right now. Just to start off with the goals of social media marketing. Number one, you need to engage your target audience. That's kind of important. Number two, you need to provide an easy, seamless, straightforward path for prospective customers to purchase your product. Okay, so certainly if you engage your target audience, that's great. If you're not providing a way for your target audience to then go and buy your product, basically you're just being entertaining. If you provide an easy, seamless, straightforward way for customers to buy a product, but you're not being engaging, then you're just not really doing any marketing and sales won't actually happen. So really you need the combination of these two goals to be working to be successful in your social media marketing. Now, what I want to talk about is really a system for setting up your social media, a social media ecosystem. Now, number one, the center of your ecosystem is going to be your website. That is going to be the most important element. And why? Why do you need a website? Well, basically, online, your website is the equivalent of your store's shopfront. Or perhaps you can think of it as a company's physical headquarters. Now, it's going to be where people come to sort of see who you are. It gives you a certain level of legitimacy, so make sure you have a professional looking website. I'm sure all of you are capable of putting together a professional looking website. And it should also guide people through to buying your product. Now also, the other thing is that it should be the starting point of your marketing campaign. So all your marketing campaigns should actually begin from your website. And in fact, they should also lead people back to your website. So your website is actually where you're selling your product as well. I know that a lot of you will be probably selling your games and apps through other web stores, through the iTunes App Store, etc. And that's fine, but you should be providing an avenue to that store via your website. Your website's where you can give as much information as you like and then provide a link to the App Store to make the actual final sale. Now, a couple of tips really regarding creating your website. If you haven't already, you might already have one. If you haven't, take these into consideration. Use a content management system or a CMS. Personally, I use Joomla, and I can recommend that. I find that really good. There's also WordPress and Drupal. WordPress, I think, is the most popular. Joomla is great. WordPress is very good, particularly if you're not sort of so technically minded, I believe. Drupal is perhaps a little bit more technical than both the others. I think Joomla fits somewhere in between. They're all free and open source and all provide add-ons and extensions. If you want to extend the functionality of your website a little bit later, you can get extensions to create an entire online store or social media site, etc., etc. Now, the second one I would highly recommend as well is to set up Google Analytics to keep track of traffic. Now, you're doing marketing here and you're going to be creating content and putting it out there. And you really do want to find out what's happening with traffic into your website. As I said before, you want to lead all traffic basically back to your website. And you want to find out what's going on. So set up Google Analytics. It's going to allow you to get a good idea of what's going on. It'll let you know where traffic's come from. It'll let you know the pages that are being looked at and that are most popular. It'll also tell you the ones that are not being so successful or popular as well. So both of those things I consider as essential. That's using a content management system and using Google Analytics as well. Now, the second element, and certainly a very important element as well, is your blog. Now, this is a specific use of a blog, and it's really to create content which is going out into your social media ecosystem. I know that blogs have a long history now. They're actually quite an old part of the internet. And we're using them for a specific reason. Now, your blog basically is going to be your voice to the world. It's going to allow you to tell your story, so let people know what you are doing and who you are. And really, you're aiming this at your target audience, your target market. So you want to inform people, let them know what you're doing, and you might need to sort of think about how much information you sort of let go. But if you're creating a product or a game right at the moment, you might sort of sneak a few early snapshots, maybe some concept art, things like that, just to give your target audience a bit of a taste of what's going on and to build up a bit of expectation. You can also release blog posts sort of telling more about who you are. So, you know, depending on what you actually do, you might be set yourself up as an authority on games or on some specific area of apps, and it allows you to tell people what you're actually doing. Your posts should either inform and entertain, or at least one of either of those. If you're not providing some sort of information and you're not entertaining, then you're not providing engagement. And with your blog as well, it should be updated regularly. Now, this is a bit of a challenge. Creating a blog post once a week is, you know, it's a little bit of work. So try to get there once a week if you possibly can. If you start not getting updates that often, then you're not really getting the advantage, and people are going to come to your site and think that you've abandoned it. So try and keep things going once a week or so. A couple of other tips as well. Now, there are different ways to host a blog. My tip really is to host your blog on your website. I know there are possibly reasons you might want to host it elsewhere. You may already have a blog hosted elsewhere. But your whole idea really is to have, at least, first of all, 100% control of your blog, which you have on your website. And also, you want to be bringing people back to your particular website. And the way to do that is actually to host it on there. Now, if you're using a CMS, then there are extensions available which will allow you to host a blog on your website. In fact, WordPress pretty much started out as a blog, as a blogging CMS. I personally use EasyBlog for Joomla, which I find really good and really useful, very straightforward to use. Any blog that you choose should allow for sharing, easy sharing via Twitter, YouTube, RSS, etc. Should allow for comments, should allow you to engage with your target audience as well. So the first social media site that I'll talk about is actually YouTube, and this is an interesting one that kind of sits out on its own. Any YouTube videos you do, you should take back and actually post on your blog as well. But YouTube itself is a very powerful and very useful site in and of its own. Now, the reason for that is really that it's the second most used search engine after Google. That is a big plus. So set up a YouTube channel if you haven't already, and find as many excuses as possible to post videos. What I've found so far, as soon as you post a video, you'll get people checking it out and looking at it. You don't have to tell anyone about it. You just post it up there, and people will find it, which is fantastic. There's not many places where you can just put stuff up and get people looking at it as soon as you put it up there. So putting videos up on YouTube is really essential for successful marketing, and a great tool for marketing as well. Do make sure they're of decent quality. As I said, find excuses to post videos, as many as you can, but not just anything. You need to make sure they're related to your company or your product, if possible. Now, there are definitely two essential videos that you want to put together. Number one is for each product, you need some sort of launch video. Now, the reason for that is there's a lot of YouTube channels out there that actually review apps and games. You want to provide them with a launch video to do that. I believe there are certainly some that won't actually review an app or a game without a launch video. The second video you want is a demonstration of gameplay or your app in action. There's no excuse for not putting some sort of gameplay or app demo up there on YouTube. The next one is Twitter. Now, I have to admit to having been a skeptic of Twitter. To me, I looked at it and I was like, well, what is the point of Twitter? So I've been a bit of a latecomer to Twitter, and I also have to admit that I only started using Twitter really because of marketing and business. I was not a personal Twitter user previous to a couple of months ago. But now I'm actually a complete convert. So if you haven't used Twitter before and you're skeptical like me, keep an open mind. It's a really interesting piece of social media. Every journalist and marketing professional is on Twitter. So if you're looking to market your product, just for that reason alone, you should have a Twitter account, and you should be tweeting, doing tweets as often as possible. You need to connect with the journalists and marketing people, and get them, if possible, to try to engage with them directly if you possibly can. Now, the other interesting thing about Twitter is that you can make connections with people, which would be really quite difficult. Twitter allows you to follow people very easily. Most people who you follow will actually follow you back. So if you're following people who either in your target market and are interested in what you're doing, or perhaps you might be following other developers, then it's really easy to create connections and start conversations with people via Twitter in countries all over the world. And I've had some really interesting conversations and made some really interesting connections. So you can connect with the developer community, and you can also connect with your target audience. The next one I want to talk about is Facebook. Now, I've used Facebook personally for a long time, but only started really using it business-wise sort of in the last 12 months or so. And okay, look, it's an interesting site. It has more users than Facebook, and I have to admit, from my own point of view, I'm not convinced as yet that it is as useful a tool for indie developers as Twitter is, or YouTube. But I'll be doing some more investigation in the future and research just to sort of check out how useful Facebook actually is. There are a lot of people up there, so you can't really ignore it. If you don't know, Facebook offers pages for companies and products, and people can come and hit like, so they like your page, and then when you post a message up there, it'll appear on their timeline. All major companies and brands are actually there, so you should probably be there as well. And also there are third-party apps which allow you to direct people to your website as well. Now, you should definitely use one of those. I think iWrapper is the one that I use. It allows you to direct people straight to your website if you can. So that's Facebook. Now, of course, there are others. It'd be impossible to talk about all the different social media sites out there. You need to choose which ones you want. Now, under others as well, I've also included your game and app. So I imagine that if you're a developer, you're probably already aware that you can connect back to your website, your Twitter feed, your Facebook page, etc., from your app, from your game or app. If you're creating games and apps for mobile devices, etc., then definitely do that. You want people to connect as much as possible, and that's a really important element. These people are already your customers, so you definitely want to engage with those. Second element with your game or your app is, if you can, make use of push notifications to announce things like updates, new products, competitions, etc. Just be careful with push notifications. Don't overuse them, but certainly use them to a degree so that you can connect with people who are already using your apps. Now, there are others, of course. Some examples, and this is definitely not exhaustive, but there's Reddit, StumbleUpon, Pinterest, and it almost seems like there's new social media sites starting up almost every day. So keep your eyes open and find out what's useful. You may be using other ones already. If you are, keep using them. That's absolutely fine. And if there are others that pop up and become popular, then by all means go and grab those as well. The last one I'm going to mention, which perhaps is possibly even the most important, and that's where your target audience is actually hanging out on the web. So the websites and forums that your target audience is actually using and tends to go to. Now, if you're a developer or if you're a programmer or if you're an artist, you probably are already connected to some forums and websites. You may go there on a regular basis to show your work off, to ask questions, to answer questions, and connect with other creative, technical people. Now, it's interesting that I think all people on the internet have these forums, etc., forums and websites that they are connected with. For instance, a really interesting example, I was speaking to a friend who is a new mother the other day, and she was telling me about how much time she spends on forums for new parents, talking about different issues with being a new parent and things like that. So, for example, if you're creating an app which is aimed specifically at new parents, you should certainly be aware of any forums and websites that new parents are that are using, and even be engaged and a member of those websites and forums. So that's just an example. There are many other areas. I don't know what your target audience is, but you should be aware of any forums and websites that they're using. So I mentioned the social media ecosystem. We've looked at the different elements, and I just want to talk about really how that actually works and how they connect together. Now, as I said, your website is the center of your social media ecosystem. It is really your shop front. It's where people walk in, they're attracted, they walk past, they head in, and then hopefully actually buy stuff. So you've got your blog, and you're posting blog posts hopefully at least once a week or so. Every time you post a blog post, actually let's talk about YouTube first. YouTube's a little bit the other way around. You should certainly be connecting from YouTube back to your website, and every time you do create a YouTube video, you should be blogging that. You can't, it's a bit hard to do it the other way around, I know, unless you're just creating purely videos for your blog. But every time you do a blog post, so that includes reposting something from YouTube, you should then go and retweet that to Twitter, and going back to Facebook as well as any of your other social media sites. In that way, really all your social media accounts really should be interconnected, so they're coming and connecting between each other, and this is what really gives us our social media ecosystem. The blog is the center, and you should be providing, as I said, blog posts talking about what you're doing, talking about who you are, on a regular basis, probably at least once a week. But also you should be interacting with Twitter, Facebook, and any of the others separately as well. And all of those should, in the end, lead back to your website, which is where you can provide more information and hopefully eventually get your customers to buy your product. And of course, the main issue here is that you're interacting with your target audience. So your target audience is probably going to be connected with one, two, maybe more. I doubt that your target audience is going to be connected with all your social media. It's just not the way things work. They'll be connected with the ones that they use, which is another good reason that Facebook is a really important one. If they're big on using YouTube, they'll probably connect to your YouTube channel. If they're big on Twitter, they'll probably follow you on Twitter. If they're more into Facebook, they might be liking your Facebook page, etc. But hopefully you've got them on a couple, and that will keep your product and your brand, your identity, in front of them on a regular basis, so that when it comes time to actually release a product, they're going to be familiar with what you're doing. So just a little recap of your target market, what you're trying to get them to do. Essentially, you want your target audience to follow you on Twitter, like your Facebook page, subscribe to your YouTube channel, and if possible, subscribe to your blog's RSS feed. You're going to be sharing or commenting on any of the content you have already created as well. And your target audience are going to be sharing or commenting on any content that you've created. That's kind of the ultimate goal. And that's the way you really build your audience, is when members of your target audience actually share your content with their friends and followers, or comment on your content, and that gets shared with their followers as well. And eventually, hopefully, they will actually buy your product. So just to recap on this section, your website is your shop front and the center of your social media ecosystem. Make sure it looks good. Make sure it's professional. Make sure it does what it needs to do. It should certainly provide an easy, straightforward path for customers to buy, even if you're leading them to the Apple App Store or one of the others to actually go and buy your product. Your social media content should engage by being informative and or entertaining. If it's not, you need to fix that. And also your social media tools should be interconnected, but above all, lead customers back to your website. Okay, in the exercise today, you're actually going to be creating your own website if you don't already have one. If you do have one, maybe just review it and make sure that it looks decent and is professional, and also has provides customers with an easy way to buy your product. And you'll also be setting up your social media accounts for your company and or products. Now, if you have all those already, that's fine. You might just want to look at what you're doing, how you're creating that. You might want to make sure that your website your blog is actually on the front page of your website, so that every time a potential customer comes to your website, they're able to see new content which is being updated regularly. And you might just want to go through and reevaluate what you've got there. So if you haven't already, come and please visit our website for a full collection of videos, practical exercises aimed at developing the marketing of your product and brand, as well as online forums, giving the opportunity for peer review and the ability to interact with your peers. Sign up for the course if you haven't already. It's online, self-paced and fully free. So visit the website to register, www.taigha-studios.com. That's TAIGHA studios.com/courses/marketing 101. We hope to see you soon and wish you all the well with your marketing and development successes. We'll hopefully catch you soon. Cheers. Bye.